letters of the alphabet that are that occur here, and see if we can find them. So the first one, here's an Aleph. Here's an Aleph. Maybe you can find an Aleph. Here's an Aleph. Once you learn to see it, here's an Aleph. Here's an Aleph. Like, I don't even have to be really reading the Hebrew. I just recognize the Aleph and what it is. It kind of looks like an F here. Now remember, this is an evolved, this is a special script because, you know, an Aleph can look like that. An Aleph, you know, we've seen an Aleph in the Aramaic script look like something like that. So every scribe has their own little nuance also. But that's our Aleph. Something like that. It reminds me of an F in English. So we've got our Aleph. So I'll write that over here on the right-hand side. Now a bet. Well, we saw a bet with Shavarti. There's a bet. See if we can find another bet. I'll just scroll across and maybe you can see one. Here's a bet. Here's a bet. Again, this is just kind of learning to see those letters. So we'll write the bet now up here. Something like that. He might make it a little, sometimes it looks like it even might have a little hook at the end. Now the Gimmel is more rare, but we did find this guy right there. That's our Gimmel. So we'll just go with that. Gimmel, and it's smaller, much smaller, relatively speaking. The Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet. Dalet, let's see, where did we see a Dalet? Oh, from oh no, that wasn't it. Well, now I'm not seeing one here. None are sticking out to me. Oh, here's one right here. There's a Dalet. So the Dalet it's much longer. See that? Yeah, the Dalet is not sticking out to me as much, but that's there, and it's not the same as this one. This is a Resh. So a Resh might have a little knob there on the bottom. So the Dalet seems to be much longer, like that. And he even has, the top goes a little bit past it like that. Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet. Hey, we saw a bunch of Hays. Hey is this guy right here. And we've learned before that he makes it kind of like this. Because it's what it is. It's a quick, in other scripts, the hey looks like that. But what he's done, he's made it this shorthand by adding that little loop. So far, we've got our Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Vav. Our first letter today was a Vav. Maybe you remember that. It's like right here. And we'll see those again and again and again. And so the Vav looks like this. Zion was a new letter that we saw today. And it is right, erase that, right here. And we saw another one right here. It's almost, it reminds me of like two, I don't know how to describe it. Two canes or something, two candy canes with a little line between them. That's our Z. So we've got Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zion. Then we want a chet, and a chet is that little, it's like a little box. See, he's not even consistent here. Like this one is more vertical, right? And then this one is more angled. So you can see how speed will affect his ability to write, being consistent. Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet. Tet is a neat one. It is usually pretty easy to see, but it is rare. It's like the other rare letters, but here's a tet right here. It's like an X with a partial circle around it. And sometimes it touches that one corner. So there we go. There's our tet. Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod. Real easy in our Aramaic script. The Yod is, looks kind of like a Z with a line, or a Z. With a little dash. You can write a couple of them if you're practicing. There's our Zion, or sorry, our Yod. I was thinking Zed, Zion. There's our Yod. Then we have, remember, no final forms. So when we go to our Kaf, you'd have to go Kaf like that. Oh, Helen, I see your question. Would they have to start the whole paper? No, that a scribe would, they would usually, and we have other manuscripts from the Dead Sea Scrolls that have corrections. They would just like write the little letter above or something like that. Like in the case of a Nehushah, where they missed a letter. I'm just going to pause to, so they would put, oops, maybe go like this, so that you have the full Kanehusha, right? And they would try to squeeze it in. If it was a complete misspelling, they might cross it out and write the word again above it. Sorry, I missed your question, but that's a really great question. So, Kaf, remember, no Sophete letters here. And a Kaf we see here and here, and it kind of starts like that. Oops. Kind of starts like that, and then has this. So that's a Kaf, and that's going to be the same in the middle of a word or the end of a word. And then we have Kaf Lamed. A Lamed usually are real easy to see because it's like this right here. Here's another one. Here's another one. So what's hard to know, did he start down and go up, or did he go the opposite way? But I kind of go like that. I go from right to left and then back up to the right. Lamed Mem. Our Mem is this letter right here. That one's harder to see. Here's a better one. And it consists of a 1, 2, 3, and then the underside there. So we're just kind of mimicking this particular scribe. Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, letter Nun. Again, no final form, so you only have to learn one form for each letter. The Nun is like this right there. So this is Tav, Tav, Nun. Titen. It's kind of like a mem, but it has less of a squiggle up top. Then we have a Somic. Now a Somic in modern block script is just a circle, and if in a fancy text it kind of has this fancy kind of hook to it with a little kind of tuft of hair But what we have here, let's see if I, oh, there's a Somic, here's a Somic, and this one actually on the lower left is actually a better example. You have a series of these, oops, something like that, where you have 1, 2, 3 little hooks and then a vertical line. So that's our letter Somic. So we'll come up here and draw that. And it's usually a little bit bigger than the other letters. Helen asks, when you find errors in the text, what does that mean in light of those who note that the Bible is full of errors? Oh, that's a really good question. That's probably a question for another day, but that's an excellent question. Short answer is God gave his word into the care of humans. The instant God revealed his word to Moshe and had Moshe, well, of course, with the 10 words, God himself wrote it. But the copying of the Torah and, of course, the prophets, they wrote in the Psalms, they were written traditions that were transmitted in the hands of men. Our next letter is Ayin. And so because of that, it's in the transmission among men that we have to watch what men do, the kinds of errors that men make. And thankfully, we have a lot of manuscripts preserved that we can lay them all out and study them together. So we have Ayin. The letter Ayin, as we noticed, is this little guy. It's almost one of the smallest little letters. There's another one. Pretty easy to see because it's a tiny little circle. Looks something like that. Ayin's harder for me to make for some reason. Try one more. Something like that. Ayin. So we have Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Somic, Ayin. Then we're going to have a Pei. That's kind of how I'd make a block Pei. And a Pei is going to look really close to a Nun, except here we have the word piryo, its fruit. It will not give its fruit. And so we have this here it looks like that kind of. It's this horizontal line, and then it finishes off very similar to the way the Nun does. So notice the Nun has this extra little bit. The Pei goes like that. So not a lot of difference between those two. The Tzadi, again, no Sofit letters. So the Pei, there's only one Pei and only one Tzadi. We had a Tzadi right up here for Artzachem, for your earth, your land. And so we have a line and then like a lightning bolt coming out of it. Maybe a little. That's a Tzadi. Then we have a Kuf. And a Kuf is also a letter that has a couple different ways of being written among the Dead Sea Scrolls, even in the Paleo-Hebrew. Here's one right here. It kind of has this interesting little hook look to it. Quite different than the Kufs that we see later, like my block Kuf below. Something like that. Then we have a Resh. We already saw Resh in Shavarti. We saw that in our very first word here, right there. Here, another one, right? So it looks a lot like a bet, but when we compare them next to each other, that's when it's real helpful. You can compare. So this is a bet, right? And then a resh. So there's our resh, sheen. If you remember our sheen, we had that right here. Sheen, that was one of our first words for shavarti. The first letters right here. So there's our sheen. And finally is our tav. And our tav, we've seen, they're almost as easy to spot as the Aleph. Next other. So there we go. So this is a neat manuscript for for a number of reasons. But one of the cool things that when we have extended portions of text preserved, we can kind of study how the particular scribe made all his letters.